This is 8.2, day 1, part 2. We want to multiply these rational expressions together. So we first want to make sure our fractions are already factored. In this case, they are. So we look at the numerator and the denominator. Can anything cancel in the numerator to the denominators or common factors? So let's talk about the 5 and the 25. Well, we can reduce those by 5s, and then look at the x minus 1 and the x minus 1. Those can cancel. So I have x minus 1s are going to cancel. Those will just become 1s. And then 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then 25 divided by 5 is 5. So what I'm left with then is a 1 here and a 1 here. So when I multiply those together, I get 1. I'm left with a 1 here times 5 times x minus 2. So 1 times 5 is 5, and then x minus 2. I do want to introduce the concept of a domain restriction. On tests, we're going to call it the DR. A domain restriction is what can't x be? What would make it undefined? So we're going to ask you to identify these. So let's look at this first denominator, x minus 1. If I substitute a 1 in for x, that would make that a 0, which then would make the entire fraction a 0. So the domain restriction first is x cannot be 1. Now let's go over to this fraction, its denominator. What would make that undefined? Well, if I substitute 2 in for x, it would be 2 minus 2, which is 0. So now I have a denominator of 0, make that whole denominator 0. So there's two domain restrictions. X cannot be 1, and x cannot be 2. Oh, next slide. All right, next example. Multiply the rational expressions here. So now we're going into 3 fractions. Go ahead and write this down. So let's talk about some things we can reduce. Things in the numerator with a common factor in the denominator. So the first thing is I notice I have 4 in the numerator and 4 in the denominator. So 4 and 4. This becomes a 1. That becomes a 1. Now 3 and 21, those divide. But also 21 and 14 divide. So I'm going to divide this one by 7. I'm going to divide this one by 7. So I'm left with 3 and 2 in those places. Now look at the numerator, 3, and the denominator is a 3. I'm just going to change colors here again. Cancel this 3 and that 3. I'm left with 1s. Now let's talk about our x's. I have 3 x's in the numerator, and I have a total of 7 in the denominator. So I want to take out the greatest amount. So I'm going to take 3 x's out of the numerator. So that's now a 1. And I'm going to take 3 x's out of the denominator. So now I'm left with that place of x squared. Well, this is a pretty messy looking multiplier of fractions. So let's just rewrite what we have. We have 1 over 1x squared. We have 1 times 1 is 1 over 1. And then we have 2 over 4x squared. Look again. These can cancel to 2 and 1. Now let's multiply across. 1 times 1 times 1 in the numerator is a 1. And then x squared times 1 times 2 times x squared is 2x to the 4th. What's the domain restriction? Well, if I substitute 0 into here or 0 into there, it would make all the fractions 0. So the domain restriction is x cannot be 4. I'm sorry, x cannot be 0. All right, dividing. When you divide fractions, remember you want to change that division symbol to multiplication and reciprocate the second fraction. What does reciprocate mean? It means flip your fraction. So very, very important that you know how to do that. Go ahead and write that box down if you don't think you'll remember how to reduce dividing rational expressions. And then we have some examples to do. The first couple examples, I'm just going to warm up with you from pre-algebra, Algebra 1 concept, so you can remember how you reduce fractions. So we have 6/8 divided by 12/32. So we want to change this sign to multiplication, and we want to flip that second fraction. So you can remember it as keep, change, change. So 6/8 is going to stay, it's going to keep. And I'm going to change the division symbol to multiplication. And then I'm going to change that 12/32 to 32/12. Now the rest of this problem is just like we've been doing on the last slides of multiplication. We try to reduce first. So let's look at the common factors. Well, 6 and 12, they can reduce by 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Now let's go to 8 and 32. I can divide those by 8. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. 32 divided by 8 is 4. Let's multiply across. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. Reduce that fraction one more time. 4 divided by 2 is 2. All right. Question B, 36/45 divided by 16/27. So I have a fraction dividing a fraction. So again, we're going to change this division symbol to multiplication, and then we're going to flip that fraction. We're going to reciprocate it. So we keep the 36/45. Change the division symbol to multiplication, and we flip the 16/27 to 27/16. Now let's reduce. We can reduce 45 and 27 by 9. So 45 divided by 9 is 5. 27 divided by 9 is 3. Now we look to see about 36 and 16. Well, I can divide those by 4. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Anything else reduce? Nope. So let's multiply across. 9 times 3 is 27. 5 times 4 is 20. I'm going to stop the recording there.